Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Listen, let's get into this first episode of the Sean Combs documentary that 50 put together over there on Netflix. Now, I already watched all 4 episodes. I had to watch it for myself first, and then they're gonna come back and do the episodes. We're gonna recap, we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it, you know what I'm saying? If y'all haven't watched it, go ahead and hit the like, and then go watch and then come back, okay? So I want y'all in the comments so we can talk about this. Now, 80% of this I knew, because y'all know I love me some good documentaries. 20% I was like, what? What the heck? Like, bro, what's wrong with you? But when it comes to 50, I know 50 can be an a-hole. But when it comes to his TV shows and his movies, he do the dang thing. I'm still mad that they canceled For Life. That was my show. But I like this. I enjoyed how it was the details for me. I really enjoyed that part of it the most. So the first episode takes us back to 1989 and we meet Kirk. Kirk is the co-founder of Bad Boy. He said that the Sean we know now is not the Sean from back in the day. Basically, he was more human. Puff dropped out of Howard when he was 19 because he wanted to be in the industry. And with the evolution of hip-hop, that right there, it drew him in. Uptown, that's Andre Harrell. It helped birth hip-hop. And Heavy D, rest in peace to Hev, he was the biggest rapper signed to Uptown. And his influence inspired Puff, and Puff knocked on Hev's door every day to ask him to take him to meet Andre Harrell. Because Andre and Russell Simmons were the gateways at that time into the corporate hip-hop world. Where the money reside. And Puff finally got a chance to meet him, and he was impressed with him. And he was impressed so much that Andre gave him an intern position. That part of the story, a lot of people they are very familiar with that, right? So the first artist as well as the first platinum artist on Uptown was Al B. Sure, and Al was dating Kim Porter. Diddy saw Kim and he wanted her. He told folks that he was gonna get her, but they kind of laughed it off because at that time Puff wasn't that dude. Plus everybody knew that's Al's girl. So back then Puff didn't, he didn't smoke, he didn't drink, he didn't have any swag. Like his weight wasn't up. But Puff being Puff, when he wanted something, he was going to get it. So there was an Uptown flavor camp that all of the Uptown artists had to go through. And that's when Puff learned his fashions and flavor and swag. So you started to see the evolution of Sean Combs. When it came to Andre in Uptown, Puff was very valuable. He was on a different level. Like his drive and determination, it was just different. Andre was sort of a father figure to Puff. Tim, Puff's childhood friend, they basically grew up together. They were like brothers. However, at Tim's house, he had a father. At Puff's house, he was raised by his mom. His dad, Melvin Combs, he was murdered. Tim feels like Janice tried to overcompensate for his dad not being there. The way that she dressed them, how they lived, all of that. She would have parties. They watch a lot of black exploitation movies. The movies with all the hustlers and the gangsters. So Puff grew up in a party house. And they would always ask Tim and Puff to dance because Janice had an actual stage in her living room. So Tim feels like from how he grew up to the movies he watched to how his mama raised him, he was being set up for the life that he grew into. Being on the stage, people coming telling him to dance, everybody's screaming like go Sean, this, that, and the other. But at the same time, Janice didn't play. She said herself that he got a lot of beatings. And they weren't like a little pop on the hand either. Because even though she treated him like a prince, she didn't want a princess. And Kirk said that he felt like Puff was shaped by pain. And when you're shaped by pain, you'll respond to others with that same type of pain or worse because you never had a way to release it. Because Puff wasn't a street kid. He was a corny schoolboy. But he turned into what he thought the streets was, right? Then we get introduced to Joy Neal. She said she met him around 89-90. She worked with promotion like parties and things like that. So she talks about the time when she went to a party for one of her friends, Puff tells her that he's throwing a party at Andre's house. Andre was out of town. After the party, Puff tells her that a girl backed out of his music video and would she mind stepping in, and she was like, I don't know, because I don't do videos, but since they was in Jersey and she need to get back to Manhattan, she went along with it. The interviewer asked her if there was ever a time that Puff SA'd her. She said someone called her up one night and told her that Puff had a video of her. She had no clue what the person was talking about, but they described it to her, and this is the first of the allegations about him derugging folks and essaying somebody. So Joy was the first person to ever file a lawsuit against him, and that was in 2023. She said that situation messed her up so bad, mentally, emotionally, physically. Even her mom wrote a letter to Puff's parents describing how Joy would wake up screaming about the things she said that Puff did to her. And as she was reading it, you can see that lady trembling. And she asked people to help her, but she said what she heard were things like, what do you want me to do about it? Or if I help you, I'm not going to be able to get into any more of his parties. So Kirk feels like Puff was trying to be like Albert Martinez. He wanted that type of respect and fear and desire to be seen as that guy. At that time, he was trying to emulate power. Joy said that Puff did come and apologize, but he denied doing any of the things that the people were telling her. And when that day that he came to apologize, that was the last time she had ever talked to him. But whenever she would see an image of Puff, it would make her nauseous. And at this time, her case is still pending. So Tim says that Sean was destined to be famous. They start talking about the celebrity basketball game that Puff threw. They feel like Puff over promoted the party. The place was packed, and when they opened the doors, folks started bum rushing the doors. And the way they rushed in and the direction that they went in, there was no way out. So people were getting trampled and 9 people were unalive. They tried to put that on Puff and Hev, but the system didn't see it that way. Like the judges and attorneys, they didn't see it that way. They felt like it was on the people who were so thirsty to be around celebrities, and for them to rush in like that, they didn't see that it was Puff or Hell's fault. But after that incident, his face was everywhere because of that situation. And Eric Sermon said that he feels like that was the beginning of Puff Daddy. And Puff said that he started to become famous because of a tragedy. And which is ironic because even though he's famous now, his face was everywhere. It's like he almost became famous again because of the situation that he just went through. And his mom, after that incident, she was worried and she wondered if he had made the right decision, to drop out of school and go into this industry. And when she said that, Puff, he did not appreciate that, and he put his hands on this moment. So Puff took Andre out to dinner and asked him if he could handle AR, artist development, and he allowed Puff to handle Jodeci. Andre taught him that he was to control everything when it came to the artist. According to Kirk, Puff sponged off of the community and culture when it came to the fashions, and he did the same thing in the studio when it came to the music. He couldn't tell you notes, but he had a good ear. And there was a DJ who would take acapella and mix it with hip-hop beats. And Puff did that with Jealousy, and he did that with Mary J. And Mary J became the owner of that hip-hop soul sound. So in 92, he was promoted to VP of Artist Development for Uptown. And since Puff was a huge EPMD fan, he asked Eric Sermon to do the intro on Mary's What's the 411 album, and they became friends. At least that's what Eric thought. But after a while, Eric felt like it was all an agenda. Eric was with Misa Hilton. They broke up, so Puff wanted her. And Kirk felt like he wanted Misa because Eric was that dude. And he wanted to be that dude. But even though they broke up, Eric and Misa were still friends. And Puff was real jealous. He would put his hands on Misa. Then a year or two later, they had Justin. He asked Kirk to be Justin's godfather. But Kirk feels like by him accepting, the responsibility of being the godfather, that made him feel like he should have to be loyal to Puff. And he could see that he was the first person to turn a blind eye on the things Puff would do. So with Puff being the VP, all of his artists were going to the top of the charts. He was the it guy. Everybody wanted to work with Puff. Puff was starting to get too big for his britches, and Andre wasn't about to put up with it anymore, and he fired him. And Puff was sick as a dog. But then things changed. Andre decided to sell Puff the Biggie album. He shopped it around, and Clive Davis loved Puff's vision, and that was the creation of Bad Boy. Kirk was there from the beginning, from the onset, from creating the LLC. Kirk had 25% and Puff gave his mom 75%. And the reason was to protect him from having to pay the families from that incident at the celebrity basketball game. Because later on down the road, another judge did find Puff and have 50% responsible. And that's when Kirk started to see the Sean that we know today. Kirk ran the money, the budget for the company, and for Puff's personal life. Kirk felt like Puff was a paper gangster. He wanted to be a strong man, but he didn't have street clout. But he had the money. He wanted the money, power, and respect. All of that makes him think he's really from the streets. So he decides to pull up on Eric, who was sitting in the car with Misa. Mind you, they're still friends. And he tried to swing on Eric. And Eric was like, I know. Did you just try to swing on me? Knowing that you can't do nothing with none of us out here on this block. So he tell Puff, get in the car. I ain't going to tear you up in front of these folks. But we can go around this corner and I'm going to handle you. But once they got around there, Puff put in the Biggie album. He wanted Eric to hear it. So Biggie comes into the picture. He didn't go straight to the top. It was like a slow rise. But you know who was at the top of the charts? Pac. Ooh, right, that's my baby right there, Pac. So Puff, he was mesmerized by Pac, and he liked the song I Get Around. So he would dissect that song from beginning to end because he wanted to know why everybody gravitated towards Pac. Why did he like the song so much? So by him dissecting I Get Around, that's how he came up with Biggie's Big Papa song. And that is the song that took Big to the top. So Big sent Pac a demo of Ready to Die, his album. He told him about the album release party. Pac was excited for Big. Pac even took Big on tours with him to open up. They had a connection, but Puff, being the jealous person that he is, he did not like the friendship between Big and Pac. He wanted complete and total control over Big. He didn't understand why they needed Pac in the picture. He was very envious of people who had success and fame without manipulation. Because according to Kirk, the reason Puff had success and fame was because of manipulation. So Pac's cousin felt like there was a trail when it came to Puff, like starting with the celebrity basketball game, all the lives that were lost. Then he got away with that because he wasn't held responsible for it. And plus, he had legit money that can get him in and out of things. Then here's Pac, the antagonist, right? So he feels like those were all of the ingredients that started in New York and ended in Vegas. From when Pac got popped at the studio in New York, then you fast forward to when he got popped in Vegas and was unalived. And Kirk feels like Puff had a hand in what happened to Pac, even though Puff has always denied it. Me personally, I've always felt like he had something to do with Puff. I felt like he had something to do with Puff, Big, Andre, and Kim. That's just my personal opinion. It's all alleged, but that's how I feel, okay? Now, that was the first episode of The Reckoning. It's four parts, 4 episodes over there on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. Get down in the comments, let me know what you think. And I'll be back with episode 2, and I'll talk to y'all later.